Hi, my name is Cheryl Duvall, and I hail from Annapolis, Maryland, and I am an independent consultant. I offer all sorts of workplace strategy consulting and change management, and one of the things that I do is appreciative inquiry consulting. And last summer, I received a call from the chair of a global association who was looking for someone to lead a huge change initiative. He had received my name from a colleague of his who happened to be on his board of directors, and I was told to him that I was a change management practitioner. So he called, he described what was going on. There was a great deal of hostility and negativity among three main primary stakeholder groups within their association: the staff, the board of directors, and the fellows. And fellows of this association are considered to be the elite members. They've served the association for many years. They've given a lot of their blood, sweat, and tears for the organization, and so they're considered the elite members, and they're called fellows. So the staff, the board, and the fellows were sort of at odds. The staff against the board, not understanding why the board was making decisions. The fellows against the board, not understanding why the board was making decisions. And of course, as often is the case, poor communication was to blame. So as I listened and I heard a lot of despair and frustration, lack of hope, they just wanted someone to come in and help fix this. And the new chair, who had just taken office July 1, said to me, we really need to make this right. So I suggested that we use appreciative inquiry as a process that would help them go through this change, to reverse the tide of negativity that I was hearing. And I said, this is the only process that I can think of that would really do this. And what it does is it makes the past and the negativity irrelevant. It won't matter anymore because we're going to change the focus of the conversation to the future. And we're going to do that by discovering what it is that got you to this wonderful place that you are as an association to start with. We're going to rediscover your positive core, and we're going to engage all of the stakeholders, or at least all of the stakeholder groups, in this effort. So it's not just the board making decisions, but it's all the stakeholder groups having a voice, an appreciative voice in the process. So that's where we got started. And once I started talking about appreciative inquiry, I was a little fearful about, is it going to be too soft and fuzzy? Will it be too touchy-feely for them, quite frankly? Facility managers are the people who run our buildings. They make them work. When things break, they're usually in the background. You don't really notice them because everything's supposed to work fine. But as soon as something's not working fine, like the roof is leaking, that's when facility managers are called in quite often. They also can be quite strategic and help an organization understand when they need to expand or decrease, hire an architect, hire new construction, whatever it is. So that's the population of the typical facility management professional. They are often engineers. So that left brain and right brain thing that are sometimes at odds, and I'm thinking, ooh, this could be interesting. But when I describe the 4D process of appreciative inquiry, it follows very much the design and construction schedule. We go through discovery, and then we dream it, and then we design, and then we deliver it. It's destiny. So when I shared that with this chair, who's a facility manager who understands those four design phases or 4D phases, he said, you know what? Facility managers love a process. So I said, well, we have a really good process for them, for you. So we went ahead, we embarked, and we had 60 days between the time that he contracted my services to their annual conference. And so their annual conference is a global conference. It attracts more than 6,000 of their 24,000 members globally. So it is a very big deal. And we wanted to make sure that we could reverse this tide of negativity within 60 days. And by going through all those processes and using some interactive and appreciative exercises as we invited the stakeholder groups to participate, We would call, when we first started with 2 discovery sessions, one for the staff, which was 65 people. The next day we brought representatives of the fellows in and the board members. And when they came in, I knew that they had been knocking heads. So we wanted to make sure that they started off finding some common ground. So one of the innovations I have found within appreciative inquiry is how open it is to processes and exercises and applications that you can pull from other practices that you might have that aren't necessarily appreciative inquiry, but you can borrow from them and pull them in. And so that's what I was able to do with something that I called milestone mapping. And we were able to have that as one of the first exercises we did for the fellows and the board members. When we brought them into the room, had this big banner with decades since the association had been founded, all the way through the years. And I asked everybody as their icebreaker to write on their post-it notes. They had a stack of them. Just write for 2 minutes. You have enough time to just write with a highlighter, a highlight of what you see as a milestone with this association. And so once they did that, I asked them to just share one milestone as part of their icebreaker when they said their name and the organization that they represented. And by the time we were done, they shared them, and then they put all of their post-it notes up on the banner. Everyone could see that, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. Look, we both joined that chapter at the same time, or we served on the board. I didn't know you were on the board then. I served on the board just 3 years after you. And there was all of this connection, and that was immediately. And you could just feel the negativity starting to ebb at that moment. And as we went through the rest of the phases, we kept seeing that. We purposely invited some naysayers into the dream workshop, and they sort of walked in like this. And then once we started dreaming and they got into that creative exercises and the skits and the poetry and the songs, they so got into it that when I asked at the end of that dream workshop, who wants to present this at your annual conference in 3 weeks, every hand went in the room. And that's when we knew that the tide of negativity had been completely reversed. And we went to the conference, we made the presentations, they all participated. They wore pins at the conference that said appreciative inquiry, we're for AI, and it doesn't mean an artificial intelligence. They really got into it. We had a roving videographer. We had an expo booth with all 4 aspiration statements on very tall 6 foot wide by 3 foot wide boards. We were interviewing people, asking them how they felt about the aspiration statements. Give us feedback, what would you add? Because we said they're still in draft form, so we want to invite your voice into this process. And as we left that conference, we knew that in 60 days we had completely changed the feeling of negativity into positivity. And we're continuing today. We're now piloting this on the chapter level. So we're rolling it out to the chapters of IFMA across the globe.